camaraderie with each other, and help create a sense of Shabbat community together. As the weather is turning here some in Atlanta with a little bit cooler mornings and just a little bit, yeah, it got warm again this morning. I invited Will to lead us off with beauty.
Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Seems like the cost of life is so much higher than what we had saved. A sea of frost and ice is trying to bury us under its weight. Just look around. Why is it that you're so afraid? Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. A few dozen years to hang around and take things past where they were when we came. Some fly away, some run aground, some spin in circles, but if it's all the same, I'd rather walk. Will you help me find flowers on the way? Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Everywhere there is beauty, I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known.
We take this opportunity to light our Shabbat candles. And so if you have Shabbat candles that you want to light, Amy and Mary Beth are gonna light them for us, and please light along with them.
Gather in the light.
Taking the Shabbat light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. May these lights bring us a sense of calm and peace. As we begin our Shabbat service, I'm just very cognizant that today is September 11th, and that we find ourselves in a different kind of challenging time as we look forward, and just call upon the strength that we believe in the potential of this country to continue to demonstrate a different kind of resilience in this moment, but really the best of the human spirit that can be demonstrated in coming together is what I remember most from September 11th, and is part of what, when I think about us as a complex nation, it's the hope, it's the thread that I hold on to, that we can do extraordinary things for one another, often in trying times. And so as we welcome the spirit of peace, of shalom, may we kind of also bring that level of calm and comfort within ourselves. We find Shalom Aleichem on page 13. Please join us in singing.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni v'shalom Malachi Hashalom Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedhem leshalom, Malachi hashalom, Malachi elyon. Mimelech, Malachi hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So in thinking about the importance of being in the time of Elul, and recognizing that we should prepare ourselves for the new year and what's to come, that there's the time where we think about ways that we want to be responsible and to take right action. And I mean this in all seriousness, that in thinking about this coming year, this is our last Shabbat of 5780. Next Shabbat we'll be celebrating 5781 together. I want to ask, as we go into breakout rooms, that as we introduce ourselves and wish a good Shabbos, a Shabbat Shalom to each other, I want to say that an important Elul practice, particularly this year, is to have a voting plan. Voting is complicated, and in a pandemic, it's even more complicated. And so I would love for us to share, if we are voting by mail, if we're voting in person, what is our plan? How do we hope to execute that plan so that we are indeed exercising this important right that we have? That is part of our responsibility. And so I'm going to invite us to share that with one another. And if you find yourself in a room, invite any person in that room to take on the facilitating role of making sure that everyone gets to introduce themselves. And if you're up for my task, to share what your voting plan is this year, and perhaps how you're helping others get to the polls or vote as well. So I'm going to invite us to move into those breakout rooms, and we'll join each other very quickly.
Hi, Paul. Can you hear me? Hey, Paul.
Hey, Darcy.
Hi, Susan. They're in breakout rooms. Don't be alarmed.
I'm not. It just knocked me out.
Oh, well, then you missed going to the breakout room and you're stuck with me and Paul.
Hope you're okay with that.
So Josh asked us to talk about our voting plan. What's your voting plan, everybody?
Not sure yet, but I will vote. I'll tell you that.
My plan is to vote in person. I'm having anxiety about the idea of not going in person and my vote not counting or my ballot being stolen. And I know I'm overly paranoid, so just forgive the neuroses.
There we go. I actually voted in the fifth.
Sarah says I'm not overly paranoid. You voted yesterday?
I did, and I took my ballot to the drop box at the Brookhaven City Hall, and I
What did
took it
that
during
for?
weekday business hours. And next week I'll go on my voter page to make sure that it was received and accepted.
Awesome.
I am-
Was it exciting?
No, it was an air. What was no, because I mean, whoever wins will serve anywhere from about 1 to 3 months maximum. But I felt like now more than ever, I have to vote at every opportunity. It was just, it's like dropping something in a mailbox. I mean, that was it. So
I get excited when I vote. I'm one of those, like, I love voting.
no, I love going to a precinct and doing it, but my health trumps, you should pardon the expression, going to a precinct this year. I don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I have faith in DeKalb County is awfully good at this stuff, and I do have faith in the system.
Are they supposed to send us something about voting, or how does that work?
Sorry, what was the question, Susan?
Are they supposed to send us something if we want to vote in person or absentee?
Yeah, just to discuss our voting plan. And Sarah's typing in the chat. And I don't know if you've seen, but Sarah, what's your voting plan, even if you type it? Because I know you're very in touch with everything that's happening in voting. So I'm curious what your plan is. Oh, you requested an absentee ballot already. Good for you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Same dilemma. Yes.
Hello,
Hi,
Miss
Nancy. Hi, Lee. Hi, everyone who's joining us. Everyone else is in breakout rooms. So we're hanging out here waiting for everyone to come back. And Josh asked us to talk about our voting plan, if anyone is comfortable with doing so. And we've had different opinions so far on voting plans. So feel free to chime in. And Shabbat Shalom. And hi, Elisa.
Shalom. Hi.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I was listening to you. Initially, I was thinking I was going to do an absentee ballot, but I kind of feel the same way you do, Darcy. I just need to go and make sure my vote counts because we need a new administration. So I will.
Yes.
Friends, we continue with this prayer. It is the last line of Psalm 27, which talks about us having both a sense of hope and having that hope turn into a strong heart or a sense of courage. And so I like the way that the psalmist combines those two ideas. You'll find the Hebrew words in the chat, as Will leads us in Kaveh.
Al tidneni benefesh sarai Kavel Adonai Lach amar libi bakshu fanai Kavel Adonai Al tidneni benefesh sarai Kavel Adonai Lach amar libi bakshu fanai Kavel Adonai Chazak v'yametz libecha Chazak v'yametz libecha Chazak v'yametz libecha V'kavel Adonai Sing with me Chazak v'yametz libecha Chazak v'yametz libecha Chazak v'yametz libecha Chazak v'yametz libecha V'kavel Adonai V'kavel Adonai.
This week we have a double portion. We have Nitzavim, and then we have a portion that is sometimes read also during Shabbat Shuvah, Vayelech. And part of Vayelech, which is one of the portions right before the Israelites are about to enter into the land of Canaan, the promised land. Moses is preparing them for what happens if they live a life with alignment, with a sense of commitment to the values that support life, or if they stray and find themselves following things that actually desecrate life and bring about curse. And Moses goes on to say that if you get out of alignment, you'll most likely experience the hidden face of God's presence. And so the text continues in this really interesting way by saying, if God's face is hidden, there's something that you can do. Write down this song and teach it to the people. Put it in your mouth so that the song will be a witness before me and before all the people. And so I love this idea of how song has the potential to reveal the divine face to us. And that's often how I feel when I see each other sing. It's part of what I want to bring into our High Holy Days, even in this distant way of being able to see each other with this sense of connection and singing. And I felt it was a proper way for us to think about Shirul Adonai, singing this new song as we prepare to sing a new song for this new year.
Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom, Leyom Yeshuato, Yai Dai Dai, Yai Dai Dai, Yai Dai 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 Dai, Yai Dai Dai. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom Leyom Yeshuato, Yai Dai Dai, Yai Dai Dai, We welcome the Sabbath bride with the Chadodi on page 41. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad yishmi'anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad v'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi hori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayik nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Yamin u'shmol tifrotzi v'et Adonai taritzi. Al yarish ben parzi v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha u'v'tzola. Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela.
Please join me on page 55 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadah v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi. Yalmad divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chai echon v'yom echon uv'chayetecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizmahan kahariv, v'meru amen. Yehesh me rabo mevorach, leolam leom me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'par v'tromam v'yitnaseh, Vitadar, vitale, vitala. Shmei kudesha, brichu, liela mikol birchata, v'shirata, tushvechata, v'nechemata, da'amihiran be'alma, v'miru. Amen. We move to Ma'ariv and we find our call to blessing. We respond with one another with this source of blessing. If anybody wants to choose to write in the chat any blessing that you experienced this week, we would most likely be sharing our highlights with one another when we saw each other. And so if there's a blessing that you've experienced, please let us know as we chant the Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai ha-mevorach ha-mevorach.
Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach leolam vaed. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. We recognize the blessing of evening, of the source that separates day from night. And in this in-between time, we offer this blessing, a poem by Jane Kenyon, Let Evening Come. I'd like to invite Doris Gordon to read it. You'll find the words in the chat.
Let the light of late afternoon shine through chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down. Let the cricket take up chafing as a woman takes up her needles and her yarn. Let evening come. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn. Let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the shed go black inside. Let evening come. To the bottle in the ditch, to the scoop in the oats, to the air in the lung, let evening come. Let it come as it will, and don't be afraid. God does not leave us comfortless, so let evening come.
Amen. Thank you, Doris. Umavir yom umevi laila. Umavdihil ben yom uvein laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamidim lo chaleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Ma'ariv aravim. Amen. We continue with Ahavat Olam, and you'll find Ahavat Olam on page 63. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limachadita. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokveinu v'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem nehege yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. V'yadvacha lo tatzur memenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Amen. So as we say the Shema, I want to invite us just to take a moment and be mindful before we close our eyes. As this prayer reminds us of our oneness, just take a moment to look at all of the faces who have gathered here. If that means you need to switch from screen to screen, please do. And just bear witness to one another, all of the myriad expressions of the divine presence shining through our eyes and our faces. And as we let our hearts fill up, invite us to now close our eyes as we say the words of the Shema together. And I'm inclined actually to do what we do in mindful moments and unmute us just for this Shema. We will do it probably a couple of times in during the High Holy Days. And so experience to hear all of us.
No, well, last semester.
Shema.
Yisrael.
Adonai. V'ahavtaha ehit
Heka.
b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'leftecha b'derech, u'shachbecha u'vekumecha, u'kshartam le'ohot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'heinenecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha. We continue with the Micha Mocha on page 79.
Micha Mocha.
Micha Mocha.
Elim Adonai.
Elim Adonai.
Micha Mocha.
Micha Mocha.
Nedar Bakodesh.
Nedar Bakodesh.
Ora.
Nora.
Tehilo.
Tehilo.
Ose.
Ose. Fele.
Malchutecha.
Malechutecha.
Rahuvanecha.
Rahuvanecha.
Bokeayam.
Bokeayam.
Lifnei Moshe uMiriam.
Lifnei Moshe uMiriam.
Zelim.
Zelim.
Anu ve'amru.
Anu v'amru.
Adonai Yimloch
Adonai Yimloch
Leolam Vaed.
Leolam Vaed.
Baruch
Baruch
Atah Adonai
Atah Adonai
God
Gad
Israel.
Yisrael. Hashkivenu is found on page 81 in the Hebrew, and in the transliteration, you'll find it on page 83.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha V'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha V'hoshienu Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha V'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha V'hoshienu Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha V'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha V'hoshienu. So we take a moment to acknowledge and observe. Today is September 11th, and we recognize the lives that were lost and the heroism of the folks that gave so much to us that day, and the inspiration that we've drawn from that. And I'm going to sing for us a song, offer this song by my friend David Berkeley. This is called "The Faded Red and Blue." And he wrote this shortly after the 2016 election. He had gone to the Smithsonian with his boys, and they saw Betsy Ross's original flag there. And it was actually the one that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner. And David wrote this reflection on that, thinking about who we were, who we are, and who we still can be. And you know, I feel that resonance in when I think about the aftermath of September 11th and the spirit and the unity that we had as a nation and really as a world, and sort of a longing for that to come to us today. So, the Faded Red and Blue. Have you seen the flag laid out, the faded red and blue? One star missing, edges torn, it barely made it through. If we believe the promise in the fabric still holds true, then we must be a harbor for the weak and weary too. I know your heart beats, I do. And my heart beats just like you. Once I saw the Grand Canyon, it snowed upon the edge. You were there beside me, you cried and then you said, deep inside this great divide, I know God isn't dead. Call it what you will, spirit or soul or love instead. I know broken hearts can mend, and hardened hearts can bend. Well, see, I'm now a father of 2 boys. I love them so, with open hearts and open minds and eyes I hope they grow. And may we leave a world to them that's sacred, not all sold, remembering where they came from and where we're all bound to go. Oh, my heart overflows, and fear will fade, I know. Oh, my heart overflows, and fear will fade, I know. Fear will fade. 'Cause I have seen the flag laid out, Old Glory, red and blue.
I'm going to invite us to move into just a little bit of silence in this moment. Take some Shabbat peace. Let's bring our sense of hopefulness, that attention to our own heartbeat and the heartbeat of others. Create a little space for our own prayers for peace and wholeness. And let us connect our prayers of peace to our collective prayers for healing. I invite us to put in the chat the names of those that we're praying a refuah shlema, a healing of body, of mind, and of spirit. I'd like to include the names of those in our community: Richard Adler, Hillary Bauer, Loretta Bernstein, Bob Bloomfield, Murray Chass, Judy Cohen, Richard Cohen, Estelle Green, Sylvia Gross, Ronit Elk, Jerry Falcon, Larry Huntsberry, Mark Copin, Arnie Corfine, Michael Lappin, Elaine Levin, Bob Levy, Robin Levy, Ann Lewis, Paulette LaCourciere, Tommy Macon, Melissa Matcha, Esther Meyer, Sharon Miller, Sarah Newmark, Aylin Olson, Dory Perling, Michael Perling, Ethan Post, Gary Rosenthal, Judy Roth, Harris Rotman, Cheryl Siegel, Clifford Greenfield, David Singer, Elliot Stryker, Maria Talenti, Dolly Wack, Shirley Weiss, Aline Tootie White, Phil Whiting, John Witherspoon, Iris Bowles, Tom Reich, Frank Noon, Patricia Noon Richardson, Jamie Robertson, Yanko Batsara, Matteo Battistini, George Hotelling, Alton Reynolds, Alyssa Robin, Norma Harris, Kate Hamill, Janine Grasso Smith, Kim McCalla, Julio Quintana, Ellie Emmerich, Nancy Smith, Ken Berry, and Andrea Finn.
This is call and response. מי שברך אבותינו מקור החיים לאמותינו הוא יברך את החולים, את החולים, אל נא רפואה נעלה, אל נא רפואה נעלה, אל נא רפואה נעלה, אל נא רפואה אבותינו מקור החיים לאמותינו הוא יברך וירפא את החולים, את החולים, אל נא רפואה נעלה, 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 אל נא רפואה נעלה.
Shabbat Shalom. Gonna share a little bit of Torah and also share a little bit of some of my writing that got published this week in the frame of this Devar Torah. So we find in Parshat Nitzavim this call to everyone to gather together. And it is Moses preparing them to all enter into the promised land. And it's very similar to Sinai, everybody standing together. I want you to listen to this language because it is, I think, very intentional. It says in the Torah that you stand this day, all of you, before Adonai your God, the captains of your tribes, your elders and your officers, with all of the people of Israel, your little ones, your spouses, and the stranger who is dwelling in your camp. From those who cut the wood to the ones who draw your water. And not with you alone will I make this covenant and oath, but with all who stand here with us this day before Adonai our God, but also with the one who is not here with us on this day, which I assume to be all of us. If we think about this, we have this moment at Sinai, and then we have this moment in our tradition of entering into this new land, this new experience. And in these two historic moments, we as a complex, diverse community find ourselves bound together. Rabbi Karielitsky offers that this is probably, in some ways, not a coincidence that we read this Torah portion virtually every time before Rosh Hashanah, because that is who will be entering into our space. we'll be welcoming people from all over. And this year, virtually, it will be a real possibility that we'll be gathering people from all over. And I know that there's a community in Mexico. A former guest of our High Holy Days who has been living there has asked if her community might be able to be guests, and they're a small chavurah. We've welcomed them from Lake Chapala. Also, we've extended invitations to a Reconstructionist chavurah in North Carolina. They might possibly join us. And just around the corner, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, who has a substantial Jewish community, the Jews, or the U-Jews, I don't know which one comes first. But they have a group called L'Chaim that often meet for the High Holy Days. And their pastor, who I'm very good friends with, recognized that it was too challenging for them to organize it this year and wanted to know if we would welcome them. And very much like this Torah portion, the Shabbat, we are saying we walk together. But I also want you to know that what happens this High Holy Days, we will have already stood together as a community, benefiting and offering benefit to so many people around the country and the world. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about that story, since it's something that I helped create. Because of this pandemic, COVID-19 has created real fears for the Jewish community. For so many of us, there have been questions, particularly of how we maneuver these High Holy Days. Will our communities survive as institutions, as communities, and as a people? If we were to look back at the literature in May, there are people who are deeply wondering about how we were going to survive and whether synagogues might suffer because people may not show up or be engaged on High Holy Day services on Zoom. But I believe from the spiritual teachings of our ancestors that it is precisely when our survival is at stake and when our mettle is tested that the choice between life and death, as it is said in this Torah portion, is even more stark. The path of life invites God in, and what often follows alongside that struggle is joy, is creativity, and unity. And I want to say that even in the midst of a pandemic, and in perhaps the most challenging High Holy Days that I have ever experienced, there is still possibility of joy. I remember the first Shabbat, the first High Holy Days. It was my second High Holy Days here, but the High Holy Days that happened after September 11th. I wondered how we were going to change as a community. And that change, that High Holy Days was the first time that we decided not to have tickets and rather open our doors to anybody who would want to home. And it has become a signature of who we are. And that we wondered whether we would survive, whether financially that was a disaster to do after High Holy Days. And it has only strengthened us, and it has made us a stronger community. And so I want to tell you that this year I have had one of the front seats to the most joyful spots during our tragic time. With a group of Jewish leaders from different movements and perspectives, I created a Facebook group called Dreaming Up High Holy Days 2020. So this group emerged from a different conversation space of multi-faith clergy that I originated so that I could help leaders and we could help each other on many spiritual paths navigate the pandemic. I remember shortly after the pandemic started, we dove into planning Passover observances, and we did so in this multi-faith space where we were understanding that we were shutting down and just beginning to shelter in place. And so we had conversations and offered suggestions on everything from how to even use Zoom. Remember, we didn't know how to use this platform, to what Haggadah resources, how to put prayers up on screens, and how to adjust to a virtual format. And the same forum also saw blossoming ideas from our Christian colleagues who were contemplating their Easter and Good Friday observances, as well as practitioners of other spiritual traditions, quickly adapting to this new world. So that once we navigated Passover, and we survived, it quickly became apparent that we were going to need much more significant lead time to even begin contemplating the High Holy Days in the mostly virtual platforms and the assuredly different settings that many of us were used to. A friend of mine, Rabbi Michael Latz, convened a brainstorming session on Zoom, bringing hundreds of rabbis and cantors across the Jewish world. And during that Zoom conversation, somebody asked, could we create a Facebook discussion group specifically for the ongoing sharing and complex planning of the High Holy Days? They turned to me, and taking what I had learned in creating the other space, the group Dreaming Up High Holy Days 2020 was born. Deluged at the onset, we recruited a group of moderators, only one of whom I had known well before this experience. And this group of volunteers has been great colleagues to one another. Our companionship of navigating effective leadership has been collaborative, has been caring, and selfless. We have put in time where we haven't found that we actually had the time, but we did so because we understood that we needed this forum for our well-being. As a group, we laughed through the tears and the fears. And so I want the organized Jewish world to know that they should take note that Dreaming Up High Holy Days 2020 has been one of the beacons of a bright future of the Jewish community. What occurred as a powerful message to our community is that this is what joy looks like in the face of tragedy. And here's why I believe it portends a bright future for us. We had no grant money, we had no institutional nudging, no incentive other than the sheer commitment to the common good of the diversity of the Jewish people. The group of people we named at the beginning, all of us were benefiting, every denomination represented. And we also did so because we as Jewish leaders at heart desire to serve our people well. And so we have been convening for nearly 5 months, 2,600, actually this week, 2,700 cantors, rabbis, educators, and lay leaders from all different movements and perspectives have been problem solving together, generously sharing innovative and practical ideas, and giving away each other concrete resources. I just learned today that because of the fires, there's a rabbi who lost her home, and people were sending her their sermons saying, use these so that you can take some of the work that we've done and adapt it in your voice. This is the kind of community that has developed during this time. And it has been with safety, creativity, purpose, and meaning all at the fore. But personally, even more encouraging is that communally, we have been offering mutual support for the emotionally daunting, exhausting, and sometimes terrifying aspects of this work. For me, there's been nothing more heartening than for people to be able to express that this feels challenging and that the many decisions that need to be made and might be made imperfectly could be heard by all of us as colleagues without making the other feel less than. This may not sound like some kind of miracle, but I want to let you know that much of my rabbinical experience, particularly outside of just a Reconstructionist context, has largely been about turf and territory. And even though right now this is the best Atlanta Jewish community I've ever been, it isn't without those challenges at times. And so to see 2,700 people come together has been nothing short of the brightest experience that I can remember in such a complex Jewish landscape. And so aside from the occasional self-promotional post, we can't help it, we're Jewish leaders. People have been doing much of this work egolessly, compassionately, and enthusiastically. People have been able to bring their questions without feeling like someone is going to harass them, or judge them for not knowing. The critical judgment of different viewpoints and choices has been low, and the encouragement and mutual respect has been high. And let me tell you, it's not a small group of people who've been participating, but the Facebook analytics say that 93% of the group have been active. There are rabbis from established movements and seminaries and rabbis from alternative centers of learning and ordination. There are affiliated leaders, including national ones, and solo practitioners in congregations. Alongside this, a marketplace grew. With thoughtful measures put into place, we created a virtual shuk, the Hebrew for a market, where Jewish entrepreneurial leaders offered valuable resources for reasonable costs. People could find graphics, choral video support, machzor supplements, and appropriate themed art like shvitis, adorned meditation tools, and greeting cards. And in addition, many Jewish organizations followed the momentum, and they saw the sharing of the group and what was needed, and they created responsive offerings. Rarely have I seen such goodwill, good nature, and good content all woven together. Not only is this what the Jewish future could look like, but this is what the Jewish present looks like right here and now. While there have been little losses, we do not have to grieve Judaism just yet. Don't let anyone tell you that Jewish communal life or Jewish tradition is on the extinction list, nor does it have to be all turf war and proprietary. We have created Klal Yisrael, Jewish unity at its essence. No one person or organization owns this page. This is an open source Jewish movement. This is joyful perseverance in the face of some steep challenges. And I believe that if we continue, we might even dream up the Jewish future. And as it says in this portion, from this commandment that I command you today, it is not beyond your understanding, nor is it far away. It is not in heaven, nor is it the seas beyond your reach. For the word, the truth, is very near to you. Carry it out with your heart, with your mouth. What has been told to us is impossible is actually quite accessible. And we witnessed and saw it, and it continues. May we all, and by all, I do mean the entire Jewish community, prosper together in 5781. Shabbat Shalom. So I'd like to invite Nancy Kreisman to give our announcements this evening.
Okay, had to unmute. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And I had to put on my sidekick because I think you'd rather see him than listen to me because I got a lot of announcements to make. So you get to see his cute little face. So one, we are so glad to host so many friends from all around Atlanta and actually all around the country for our virtual services. And our regular daily and weekly gatherings continue in the coming week. We have our mindful moments, which is at 8:45 on the weekdays, and we will explore spiritual themes that move us from estrangement and grief to responsibility and repair to forgiveness and self-acceptance. Please join us. You're more than welcome. Finish your day with the 10-minute minyan at 7:45. And the CBH board will begin meeting on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30. Our next meeting will be on September 29th. Please join us next week as we observe Rosh Hashanah starting on Friday evening. It's going to be very weird to not be together, in physical, but we're here together. On Friday, September 18th at 6 p.m., join Malka Packer Monroe, Director of 18 Doors, Atlanta, for nourishing, grounding, creative, and playful Rosh Hashanah Seder. And afterwards at 7:30, Rabbi Josh will lead Rosh Hashanah services. On Saturday, September 19th, we'll observe the first day of Rosh Hashanah. 9:30 a.m. is the morning service. 11:30 a.m. are the older children, which are aged 10 to 12, their service. 1 p.m. is the Torah service, and 7 p.m. is the text study and Kaddish. Hang in there, I've got a few more things to say. And join us again the next day on Sunday. Kia's looking at me like, please hurry up. September 20th, as we observe Rosh Hashanah Day 2, 9:30 is the younger children's service. 10:15 a.m. is the shofar service, which is always incredible. And 10:30 a.m. is our amazing chant service that we have. We have a lot of amazing things. 5 p.m. is our Tashlik yoga. Can you believe I'm still going to be talking for a while? 7:45 is the 10-minute Kaddish minyan. All right, I still have a few more things to say. We have many amazing Elul offerings coming up. We have Lunch and Learns with Rabbi Gottfried, pre-Rosh Hashanah Game Olympics for the children in kindergarten through 5th grade, which I'm going to be helping with. I can't wait. A workshop on making a sanctuary of your home with Rabbi Elise Wetcherman, a challah braiding and baking workshop, all leading up to the slate of high holiday services and programs. Please visit our website calendar for more details and sign up for these programs. And I think you have to print it out so that you'll be able to keep track of everything. As you plan on how you'll join us from the high holidays, we ask that you also take a moment, and this is really, really important, give a donation of any amount to CBH High Holiday Appeal. You can double your impact if you give it within the next few days, as gifts will be matched dollar to dollar up to $10,000, thanks to the generosity of Dan and Susan Sokolow. Maximize your giving and maximize the impact that CBH can have on the community by giving today. You can donate at www.donate2cbh.org/donate. As always, for a full view of our Elul offerings, please visit the CBH calendar on our website. We are constantly posting new events and services, so please check often to stay up to date. And we have a whole section of the website now devoted to COVID resources and response. This is where you can find links to all the public CBH Zoom gatherings, as well as links to practical and financial resources, spiritual and mental health resources. Go to CBH website, congregation.haverim.org. And you will see in the main navigation across the top, COVID Central. Thank you for your willingness to listen to all this. It's important stuff, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Nancy, for keeping us informed with all of the offerings. There is a method to our madness. We want to make sure that people have many different ways of connecting through these high holy days, and that we are able to weave the entire 10 days of Teshuvah together. We find the Aleinu on page 121. Please join me in chanting. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liyotzeh breshit, shenatan lanu Torah hatemet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. V'anachnu kodrim, mishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, Machei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Kakatuv v'toratech Adonai imloch le'olacham va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech ol kol haaretz v'yom hahu Yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. So friends, we say the prayer for the end of hiding together. You'll find it in the chat. And I'm just thinking about this prayer that talks about, coming out of hiding and this authenticity to ourselves so that we can bring our creative expression to the fore. There is this deep sense of inclusion that I talked about in my Devar. I want to say, I don't think it's a coincidence that my friend Michael Latz and I, both out clergy of a same generation, we're the same age, we've known each other for many years. He's a Reform grad. I don't think it's a surprise that we're the ones who created this forum. I think that we deeply understand what life is like on the margins, and that when you actually bring the margins into the center and you center that, it creates a warm, loving community where everybody can be accepted and embraced. And I believe that in part, that is what has happened. And so when I think about this prayer for the end of hiding, this is what happens when people are invited to be their full selves. They actually invite the mainstream to be their full selves too. And transformative things can happen. So I want to just say, I don't think that's an accident. And I believe after High Holy Days, that will be my next article. So we'll share that then. Please join me. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves to ourselves and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not, the Jews who feel they must be alienated from their tradition and community to enlarge their acceptance, both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender identifying or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Amen. We find Mourner's Kaddish on page 131. I ask those who are in a period of ritual mourning, if you would like to rise, please do so. You may put the names of those that we remember in this chat. If you want to unmute yourself and say the name and then mute yourself again, please do. Tonight I'm remembering Peter Steiner,
Alicia Romero, Jorge Castillejo,
Michael Bauer.
Eric Rackham.
Tosha Schneider, Louis Waxelbaum, Manny Waxelbaum.
Stephen
Aileen.
Schwartz, and all of those who died at 9/11.
Marilyn Lefton.
Aileen Sokler.
Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Yitkadal, Shemei Rabbah, Yalma Divra Pirte, Yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon, V'yomechon, B'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Hagalav V'zman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehesh Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Omei Omaya. Yiparach V'yishtabach V'pa'ar V'tromam V'naseh V'tadar V'taleh V'talal Shmei Kudusha Baruchu Le'elam Minchol Birchata V'shirata V'shirata V'nechemata Da'amiran Be'alma V'yiru Amen. Yehi Rama Min Shemaya Ishlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Imromav V'yaseh Shalom
Oseh Shalom V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru
Amen.
Amen.
May their memories be a blessing. And we sing those final words. May the one who creates peace in the heights create peace for all of us, for all of Israel and the entire world. And as usual, I want to say that, tonight we can party like it's 5780. Last 5780 Shabbat, I want to invite us to dance our way out of this year and get ready to welcome a new one.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. שבת שלום ושנה טובה.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos, Shabbat,
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.